scale, the sheer size of this march. It's all the way from the Kremlin, stretching back all the way back down to Tverskaya, one of the central streets in Moscow. Really, as far as the eye can see, how many people are here today, it's hard to tell. 500,000, 800,000, maybe even 1 million or more. This may well be a record. You mentioned the weather being a factor. I think most of the people here would come to this event, rain or shine. This event really means so much to the Russian people, to many people in the former Soviet republics as well, and beyond. It's proven simply by the sheer scale of this event, the Immortal Regiments, people here bringing photographs, pictures, or even just names of loved ones they lost or those who just contributed to that great victory. This Immortal Regiment march began several years ago in quite a small city in Siberia, just a few thousand people attending. In those few years since then, in that half a decade, it's ballooned to become a truly international event with dozens of countries and millions of people attending worldwide. This week and today, there have been marches in many European cities: Madrid, Berlin, Lisbon, London, across the Atlantic Ocean in America, in Thailand, in Israel. Speaking of Israel, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is here today as well. He's marching alongside the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who's been participating in this event as well since 2015, holding up his own photos. Netanyahu is holding up the photo of a participant of the Great Patriotic War, a hero of the Soviet Union. He is somewhere in among that crowd. And as you quite rightly mentioned, Ilya, every photo has a story behind it. Every family here has been affected, has descendants that made some contribution. I found out my great-grandmother, Emilia Ogneva, was a military surgeon during the Second World War, that she participated in the Battle of Moscow, saving people's lives. My great-grandfather, Kudus Motigulin, was also a soldier. He fought in the Battle of Stalingrad and laid down his life there. This year is the anniversary of that particular battle as well, which makes things all the more poignant. A real turning point that was in the Eastern Front and in World War II. But as I said, every person here has a story. Every family left touched by some contribution their descendants made. And really the size of this event, the record numbers at this event, goes to show just how seriously the Russian people take this, how much it really does mean to them. And this
even Kuwait City, they also gathered down under as those in Sydney commemorate the heroic relatives who fought the fascists. Our correspondent Peter Oliver was at the event in Berlin.
Well, the March of the Immortal Regiment underway here in Berlin as songs from the Second World War, the Great Patriotic War, play out. We see hundreds of people marching from the Brandenburg Gate up towards the Soviet War Memorial. They're all holding pictures of those that fought and in many cases died during World War II in the defeat of Nazism. And for them, events like this and monuments like the Soviet War Memorial here in Berlin give them a place to go to and to pay their respect and to remember those who gave their lives.
Well, events have been held.
Hurrah!
The marching bands get underway, with marching bands from all corners of the vast expanse of the Russian Federation. We can smell the fumes from all the engines. More than 100 vehicles are taking part in this year's parade. Now we can finally see some of the vehicles moving just behind me. So finally this part of the parade has officially kicked off. So let's just enjoy the view that we have from this vantage point and check out. And I think Daniel Hawkins, my colleague, will be meeting those tanks, those vehicles on Manezhnev Square as they rumble onto the Red Square. Here they come now. It is the big boys and their big toys.
volumes of diesel coming off these tanks. That's the Armata. These are the big ones here. BMPT right there. That's the Terminator. The stones of Red Square. My feet. The vibrations. It makes you think there's some sort of seismic activity underneath the Kremlin. My only question is, how on earth does he park that thing?
There's a thunderous roar here. I don't know if many of our viewers have been near helicopters, but you can feel it through your body, the reverberations. The Tu-95 MS, bears as NATO has come to call them. I'm not 100% sure whether you get the sheer size of these aircraft through, you know, a camera lens, but they're enormous. They sometimes defy reason, logic. How on earth do things that big fly?
Well, some terrific camera shots there, and one camera also caught an unusual scene on Red Square. At one point, a war hero was seen being forced out of the way by members of the presidential security team. The president, though, saw what was happening. He went over to the veteran and invited him to walk to the tomb of the unknown soldier to lay flowers. OK, well, let's return to the events of the war that changed the course of humanity, because the siege of Leningrad, which is now St. Petersburg, remains one of its most horrific chapters. The city was completely surrounded by Germans in 1941. The blockade lasted 872 days and claimed the lives of up to 1.5 million people. All major supply routes were cut off, with only one exception, the famous Road of Life running across the frozen lake Ladoga.
It was June. We were at our dacha. And then my dad appeared with a changed look on his face and said, "It's war." I liked this word. I had never heard it before. My dad gave me a little slap to stop my joking around, and then he packed immediately and left. We had a New Year celebration at our kindergarten. They sat us on benches and gave each one of us a mandarin, an amazing fruit. I don't think I had ever eaten one before. Only when I grew up did I find out my mandarin was brought to me by Maxim Tverdoklin, and a hole that was in it wasn't just a hole, it was a hole from a Nazi bullet.
Celebrations that continue.